I wanted to talk about enlightenment as a concept. Um, I think it has been the bane of my generation, the so-called seekers of the 60s and 70s, that we were led to believe that there was a state of equanimity, of harmony, of balance, of serenity that we could achieve. And many of us pursued this dream. I think we could perhaps have been more effective in the world doing something else, frankly. Enlightenment is, there are many words for it. The Japanese use the word satori. It's also called moksha in the Indian literature, or liberation. It is a notion that comes from Hinduism, which is a very broad set of ideas, not really a single religion as such, and then develops with the forest sages who wrote the Upanishads between 800 and 500 BC, and is then taken up by Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. And the idea is that you will transcend the wheel of suffering, the Buddhist notion that everything is suffering, that you will be reincarnated again and again until such time as you're able to escape into nirvana. Now, the first significant error in New Age thinking is the notion that reincarnation is a great thing. I'll be able to come back and have another lifetime and do something again. This is absolutely in conflict with the Buddhist idea. The fear of the eternal return is called in Buddhism. So the idea is to stop being reborn again. Then, of course, 1,000 years after the Buddha, the Mahayana, the great vehicle of Buddhism, comes into being. A monk wills himself back 1,000 years and brings back the flower garland or flower wreath sutra, claiming that this was spoken by the Buddha and this was lost 1,000 years before. In this, you have the notion of being reborn repeatedly as a bodhisattva, a being who will help all of humanity to leave into nirvana together. This is very different from the Buddha's idea, which was that you must seek enlightenment as if you were running from a house that is burning down. So you don't try and take anybody with you. So there's a little bit of conflict there. I was totally sold. I read a book called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, compiled by a man called Paul Reps in the 1930s. A very popular book. Very interesting book still. I'm not disagreeing with the ideas in it necessarily. But the essential idea is this idea of enlightenment, that you will become aware of everything. You will live in the present moment. And I, had a year or two of believing in Buddhist and Taoist ideas. I then became involved with Scientology for 9 years and was a thorough believer, though I had the good fortune never to be on the so-called staff of Scientology. So I had a pretty good time compared to most people. I was never humiliated and abused. I'm afraid many people are, or significantly exploited financially, which I suppose I was. But nonetheless, throughout that time, I continued to believe in enlightenment. And when I left at the age of 28, I still believed in enlightenment. It was only really in my 50s that I started to question this idea and go, well, what is the point of this serenity, this equanimity, this being away from everything in life to enter nirvana or nibbana, if you prefer the Pali expression for it? Isn't it better to actually do the best you can in the world, which I'd been trying to do anyway, to be compassionate and to have a little humility and to direct your life towards strengthening relationships, helping people, rather than the search for some heaven or afterlife or nirvana, to actually be in the present moment, trying to do something good and useful, trying to learn something that will allow you to help others and get rid of the terrible authoritarian behaviours that we have in our society. So I believe, it's interesting seeing that in the 60s and 70s, there was so much music about enlightenment. You know, The Who's Tommy is about enlightenment. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. The Point by Nilsson. And the best of them all, the Small Faces, Ogden's Nut Gone Flake, which basically satirises the whole quest for enlightenment with great good humour. Life is just a bowl of all bran. You wake up every morning and it's there. Is their conclusion, their notion of satori or enlightenment. Among the more extreme versions would probably be Tales from Topographic Oceans by Yes, which is very elaborate and very beautiful, but I'm not to this day sure what John Anderson was driving at through the words that he used. It's more mystifying than mystical. I think that it has derailed people. I think that we need to be the best people we can be, but in relationship with others. And I think I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to drone on for too long. So thank you very much.